It was 45 minutes before showtime when Jimmy Fallon's phone buzzed with a voicemail notification that would change everything about that night's Tonight Show. Jimmy was in his dressing room, going through his usual pre-show routine of reviewing notes and loosening up with some vocal exercises, when he noticed the missed call from a number he didn't recognize. The voicemail was almost 3 minutes long, which was unusual. Most wrong number messages lasted only a few seconds, just enough time for the caller to realize their mistake, but this one was different. Jimmy pressed play and immediately heard the trembling voice of an elderly man. "Hello? Is this Ruth? Ruth, if this is your voicemail, I need to tell you something. The doctors say you can't hear me anymore, but I think you can. I think you're still in there somewhere. I'm standing outside your room right now because visiting hours are over, but I couldn't leave without saying this one more time." Jimmy stopped adjusting his tie and sat down, listening more intently. "Ruth, we've been married for 58 years, and I've told you I love you almost every single day. But I need you to hear it one more time. I love you, sweetheart. I love how you make coffee too strong, and how you always steal the covers. I love how you cry at dog food commercials, and how you know every bird that comes to our feeder by name. I love how you've taken care of everyone else your whole life, and now I don't know how to take care of you." The man's voice broke completely, and Jimmy found himself holding his breath. "The doctors say tonight might be the last night, and I know you probably can't hear this message, but I needed to try. I needed to tell you that you've been the best thing in my life for 58 years, and I'm not ready to say goodbye. I'm never going to be ready to say goodbye." The message ended with the sound of the old man crying softly. Then the automated voice, "End a message." Jimmy stared at his phone. His pre-show energy completely shifted. Someone out there, some elderly man whose wife was dying, had just poured his heart out to what he thought was his wife's voicemail, but had accidentally reached Jimmy Fallon instead. He immediately called the number back. "Hello?" The voice that answered was the same one from the voicemail, but weaker now, exhausted. "Hi, this is Jimmy Fallon," Jimmy said gently. "I think you might have called my number by mistake, but I heard your message." There was a long pause. "Jimmy Fallon? The television host?" "Yes, sir." "What's your name?" "Henry? Henry Morrison." "Oh, God, I'm so sorry. I thought I was calling my wife's phone. She's in the hospital, and I was trying to... I can't think straight right now." Jimmy could hear the man starting to cry again. "Henry, don't apologize. It's okay. Can you tell me what's happening with your wife?" Ruth had a stroke 3 days ago. She's been unconscious since then. The doctors say her brain function is... They say she won't wake up. They want me to make decisions about life support." Jimmy's heart clenched. "Henry, where are you right now?" "I'm in the hospital parking lot. I've been sitting in my car for 2 hours. I can't go back up there, and I can't go home. I don't know what to do." "What hospital?" Jimmy asked, already formulating a plan he hadn't fully thought through. "Mount Sinai, here in New York. Why?" Jimmy looked at his watch. 35 minutes until showtime. He made a decision that would either be the most meaningful thing he'd ever done on television or a complete disaster. "Henry, I want you to do something for me. I want you to go back up to Ruth's room and stay with her tonight. Can you do that?" Yes, but visiting hours are over." "Don't worry about that. And Henry, I want you to have your phone with you. Keep it charged." "Mr. Fallon, I don't understand." "You will. Just trust me and stay with Ruth. I'm going to try to help you tell her what you need to tell her." Jimmy hung up and immediately called his head producer. "I need to completely change tonight's show," he said without preamble. "Jimmy, we go live in 30 minutes. What's going on?" "I just got a voicemail from a man whose wife is dying. He was trying to call her phone to leave her a final message, but he called me instead. I want to help him." The producer was quiet for a moment. "How?" "I want to call him live on the show. Let him say goodbye to his wife properly, with all of us as witnesses." "Jimmy, that's That's incredibly personal. Are you sure he'd want to do that? I'm not sure about anything except that this man deserves to be heard, and maybe Ruth deserves to hear him, even if the doctors think she can't. 20 minutes later, Jimmy walked out onto the Tonight Show stage with an energy unlike his usual pre-show enthusiasm. The audience could sense something different immediately. Jimmy's smile was present, but subdued, and he seemed to be carrying emotional weight. "Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Tonight Show," Jimmy began. "Tonight we're going to do something we've never done before. About an hour ago, I received a voicemail that was meant for someone else. A man named Henry was trying to call his wife Ruth to tell her he loved her, but he accidentally called my phone instead." The studio audience grew quiet, sensing the gravity of what Jimmy was sharing. "Ruth is in a hospital bed here in New York, unconscious after a stroke. The doctors have told Henry that she probably can't hear him, but Henry believes she can. And honestly, I believe Henry. I think there are things that transcend medical science, and love is one of them." Jimmy walked closer to the audience, his voice becoming more intimate. "So tonight, instead of jokes and games, I want to help Henry tell Ruth what he needs to tell her. Because I think all of us have people we love, and sometimes we forget to tell them. And sometimes life doesn't give us as many chances as we think we'll have." Jimmy pulled out his phone. "I'm going to call Henry now, and if he's willing, we're going to help him say goodbye to his wife properly." The studio was completely silent as Jimmy dialed. When Henry answered, his voice came through the studio speakers, shaky but present. "Henry, it's Jimmy Fallon. Are you with Ruth?" "Yes, I'm here." I'm holding her hand. "Mr. Fallon, what's happening? Why are you calling me?" "Henry, you're on the Tonight Show right now. There are about 300 people in our studio audience and millions of people watching at home. I told them about Ruth and about your message to her." "I'm on television?" Henry sounded panicked. "Mr. Fallon, I'm not ready for something like that." "Henry, listen to me," Jimmy said gently. "You don't have to perform or be entertaining. You just have to be yourself. You just have to love Ruth the way you've been loving her for 58 years. We're all here as witnesses to that love." There was a long pause, and then Henry's voice came through, stronger now. "She's lying here so peacefully. She looks like she's just sleeping. Her hair is still beautiful, silver now, but still soft. I've been brushing it for her every day." The studio audience was completely captivated, hanging on Henry's every word. "Henry," Jimmy said, "tell us about Ruth. What was she like?" "Oh, Ruth is everything. She was a kindergarten teacher for 37 years. She loved those kids like they were her own. Every Christmas we get cards from students she taught decades ago, telling her how she changed their lives." Henry's voice grew warmer as he talked about his wife. "She makes the best apple pie in Queens, Sorry, I keep switching between past and present tense. I don't know which one is right anymore." "It's okay, Henry," Jimmy assured him. "Tell us how you met." "Dancing," Henry said with a slight chuckle. 1965 at a USO dance in Brooklyn. I was about to ship out to Vietnam, and she was there with her girlfriends. I was so nervous to ask her to dance, but she said yes. We danced to Moon River. That became our song." Jimmy noticed several audience members wiping their eyes. "And you got married when you came back?" "The day after I returned from overseas, March 15th, 1966. Ruth had waited for me the whole time I was gone, wrote me letters every single day. I still have them all, in a shoebox, in our closet." "Henry," Jimmy said carefully, "what do you want Ruth to know right now?" The line was quiet for a long moment, and when Henry spoke again, his voice was thick with emotion. "I want her to know that every day with her was a gift. Every ordinary Tuesday, every argument we had about money or what to watch on TV, every time she made me take out the garbage when I didn't want to. All of it was perfect because it was with her." The studio was completely silent except for the sounds of people crying softly. I want her to know that I'm not afraid of being alone because she taught me how to be strong. But I also want her to know that I don't want to be strong anymore. I want to be weak and scared and lost, because that's how I feel without her. Jimmy's own voice was unsteady now. Henry, is Ruth's hand in yours right now? Yes, it's still warm. It still fits perfectly in mine. I want you to squeeze her hand, Jimmy said, and I want everyone watching, everyone in this studio, everyone at home, to think about someone they love. And Henry, I want you to tell Ruth whatever you need to tell her. What happened next was unlike anything that had ever been broadcast on late-night television. Henry began speaking directly to his wife, his voice intimate despite being heard by millions. Ruth, sweetheart, I know you're tired. I know you've been fighting for 3 days, and I know how hard you've been working to try to come back to me. But baby, I need you to know that it's okay if you need to rest now. His voice broke completely, but he continued, I need you to know that you've been the most wonderful wife, the most beautiful woman, the kindest person I've ever known. You made me better than I ever thought I could be. The studio audience was openly sobbing now, but they remained silent, understanding that they were witnessing something sacred. I want you to know that if you need to go, I'll be okay. It'll hurt every day for the rest of my life, but I'll be okay because you taught me how to love, and that doesn't die just because people do. Henry paused, and Jimmy could hear him crying. But Ruth, if there's any part of you that can still hear me, I need you to know that I love you. I've loved you for 58 years, and I'm going to love you for whatever time I have left. You're not just my wife. You're my best friend, my favorite person, my home. There was another long pause, and then Henry's voice came through the speakers one more time, barely above a whisper. Thank you for dancing with me, Ruth. Thank you for every dance. The studio was completely silent, except for the sound of Henry crying softly over the phone connection. Jimmy wiped his eyes and spoke quietly. Henry, you're the most beautiful example of love I've ever witnessed. Ruth is lucky to have you, and you're lucky to have had 58 years with her. Mr. Fallon? Henry's voice was very small now. Yes, Henry? She squeezed my hand. Right when I said thank you for dancing with me, she squeezed my hand. The studio audience gasped audibly, and Jimmy felt tears streaming down his face. Henry, Ruth heard you. She heard every word. I think she's trying to tell me she loves me too. Jimmy addressed the audience and cameras through his tears. Ladies and gentlemen, we've just witnessed something that reminds us what really matters. Henry and Ruth Morrison have shown us what 58 years of love looks like and what it means to say goodbye with grace. Jimmy wiped his face with his sleeve. Henry, we're going to end our call now, but I want you to stay with Ruth tonight. Hold her hand, talk to her, play your song if you can, and I want you to know that millions of people are thinking about you both right now. Thank you, Mr. Fallon. Thank you for helping me tell her what I needed to tell her. Thank you for sharing your love with all of us, Henry. After Jimmy hung up, the studio remained completely quiet for almost a full minute. Finally, Jimmy addressed the audience. We're not going to have any other segments tonight. We're not going to try to make you laugh after something like that. Sometimes the most important thing television can do is remind us to love the people in our lives while we still can. Jimmy looked directly into the camera. If you're watching this and you have someone you love, call them. Don't wait for tomorrow. Don't assume they know. Tell them right now while you can, while they can hear you. The show ended unlike any Tonight Show in history, with a phone number on screen for viewers to call if they needed grief support. And with Jimmy's final words, love doesn't end when people die, but our chances to tell them how much they mean to us do. Don't waste those chances. Within hours, the segment had been viewed millions of times online. But more importantly, hospitals across the country reported that their phone lines had been flooded with people calling to talk to sick relatives. Nursing homes said they had more visitors that week than they'd had in months. Jimmy received thousands of letters from viewers sharing their own stories of love and loss. But the letter that mattered most came 2 weeks later. It was handwritten in shaky, elderly penmanship. Dear Mr. Fallon, this is Henry Morrison. I wanted you to know that Ruth passed away peacefully 4 hours after our phone call. She never regained consciousness, but I believe with all my heart that she heard me tell her I loved her one last time. The doctors said it was one of the most peaceful passings they'd ever witnessed. I think Ruth was ready to go once she knew I was going to be okay. Thank you for giving me the chance to say goodbye properly. Thank you for helping me love her one last time in front of the whole world. Your friend, Henry. Jimmy kept that letter in his desk drawer and read it whenever he needed to remember why he did what he did for a living. 6 months later, Jimmy received another letter from Henry. He had started volunteering at Mount Sinai Hospital, spending time with families who were facing end-of-life decisions with their loved ones. He would sit with them, hold their hands, and tell them about the night that Jimmy Fallon helped him say goodbye to Ruth. I learned that night that love doesn't need to be private to be real, Henry wrote. Sometimes love needs witnesses. Sometimes saying goodbye in front of millions of people is exactly what love looks like. The voicemail that started it all became a reminder to Jimmy and his entire production team that their platform was about more than entertainment. It was about connection, about helping people express what they couldn't express on their own, about using the power of television to make sure that love got heard. Henry Morrison continued to watch The Tonight Show every night, and sometimes when Jimmy made his closing remarks, he would think about Ruth and smile, because somewhere in the middle of all that sadness, he had discovered something beautiful, that love really doesn't end when people die, and that sometimes the whole world is willing to be witnessed to forever. The wrong number voicemail that had interrupted Jimmy's pre-show routine became the right message at exactly the right time, proving that some connections happen exactly when they're supposed to, even when they seem like mistakes. It wasn't just late-night television. It was a reminder that sometimes the most important calls we make are the ones that reach exactly who they're meant to reach, even when we think we've dialed the wrong number.